Good evening, boxing fans. Welcome back to another episode of Inside Boxing Brain. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm really interested and I love talking to every single one of you. Now, this video is relatively broad in subject. I want to cover a few things which are happening in the boxing world. We've got quite a good card on this weekend. We've got multiple cards on this weekend over in America and in the UK as well. So I want to talk about them, and I also want to talk about a bit of the reaction to my last video and the reaction that the boxing community is giving after a week, 10 days are passing since the adverse drug finding for Conor Benn. So it's quite a broad subject today. I'm going to try cover each one fairly quickly because I don't want this video to be too long. But equally, if you are interested, you can go back and watch all my old videos and get up to speed with where I am with a few of these fights, because due to the Queen passing a few months ago, there was a reschedulement, and I'm going to be talking about Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, but I did already do a prediction video for that. So today's breakdown of that fight is going to be more in reaction to the current press conference and the build-up this week. But to kick off, I want to talk about Eddie Hearn. Now, I've just watched an interview on YouTube. It is on Boxing Social, and it's following Eddie's interview that he did on IFL TV with Kugan Cassius. Now, in this interview with Charlie Parsons, Eddie talks a lot about the reaction from the boxing world in relation to Conor Benn's positive Clomid test finding. And the way he talks about it, he's kind of alluding to the fact that Conor Benn is innocent, and the whole reason why the fight played out the way it did after, or the build-up continued to play out the way it did after the results came out on Wednesday, is because of information which he can't disclose to the public yet, but when it comes out, he thinks it's going to challenge everyone's perceptions around this positive result and the cancellation or postponement of the fight. So in the interview, Parsons puts the question to Eddie Hearn that why is it that it took you almost 2 weeks to break the news to the public, even though you knew internally that Conor Benn had failed a test? And your response and you coming out and telling us that the fight was potentially going to be postponed and that you were looking into this adverse finding was off the back of the Daily Star releasing a story saying that Conor Benn had failed a drugs test. So it wasn't a proactive thing from Matchroom Sports, it was a reactive thing. They weren't forthcoming with the information because they knew about it a long time ago, and they continued to let thousands of people sign up to DAZN and pay their subscriptions to the pay-per-view fight, fully well knowing that this fight should not go ahead because he's been popped for PEDs. So it kind of was a double-edged sword. On one side, you want to believe him because as a boxing fan, in my heart of hearts, I want Conor Benn to be innocent. I want it to come out that, you know, the B sample is completely different, there was contamination, or I want there to be some type of, you know, evidence that comes out that we can all say, actually, Conor Benn was clean and let's get this fight on again. But until he clears his name, I don't think that they are going to be able to reschedule this fight. And given the fact that Chris Eubank Jr. is getting on a little bit, he's in his mid-30s now, I think that he's going to push towards a middleweight championship fight and leave the catchweights and these legacy fights to one side. And I think that's probably a better strategy for him. But it makes you think that, you know, it'd be great if Conor Benn was innocent, but how on earth do you get clomid or clomiphene into your system naturally? It's not a naturally occurring compound that is present in food or present in energy drinks or even you know, pre-workouts or anything like that. It's not an off-the-shelf type of chemical compound. It's a pharmaceutical drug which is made within laboratory conditions, and it's prescribed medically to women. And yes, there's numerous uses for it within bodybuilding or within sports or, you know, within the general population. But in general, if a man is caught using clomid, it's for two reasons. It's either for masking another drug, or it's for boosting your testosterone levels. That's either post-cycle or as a TRT type of scenario where you're on testosterone replacement therapy. So it'd be great if he was innocent. Eddie Hearn is still skirting around the edges, not giving us any direct information or results. He said that it could be up to 2 weeks before we get that B sample result. But the piece of information that he did let slip was that they were unhappy with the way that the A sample was tested. So for the B sample, they're actually going to send their own medical professionals to the laboratory to actually observe the making the B sample test. So when they run the analysis on the B sample, they're going to want a medical professional from Matchroom there as a representative to make sure that the process is clinically secure and there's no possible chance of contamination. Now, Eddie Hearn admits that 99% of the time the B sample is exactly the same as the A sample, but that wasn't his main justification as to why the fight was allowed to go on or why the build-up for the fight was allowed to go on. He has alluded to the fact that the levels of compound that were found within Conor Benn's urine were negligible. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that the compounds were in his system, but what he's saying is that when that evidence or that information was presented to the Eubank camp and the adjacent promoters, they felt that the fight could still go on because there would be no performance enhancing benefits from having levels at such a low level within the body. So their reasoning and the board's reasoning to stay quiet was that negotiations were still taking place and they were waiting for further results and further guidance from VADA, the British Boxing Board of Control, and the relevant parties. But what it doesn't explain and what it doesn't tell you is why the drugs were in his body in the first place. Now, as fans, that is all we're interested in. I don't care about how much of this was in his body. What I care about is that it was in his body and how did it get there. That's what, as fans, we're interested about, and that's how we're going to gain our, trust and love for Conor Benn again. I think what Eddie Hearn is trying to do is disaster recovery and damage limitation. If you just look at Conor Benn's social media, his followers have plummeted over the last few days. And I really think that is because people are losing faith in him as a clean athlete. We all know that it took him a very long time to sign up to the WBC clean fighting program. And with him not being active on social media, protesting his innocence, or even coming out and saying to the fans, thank you for everybody who's behind me, and in time I will clear my name. I feel like he's coming across almost like he's got something to hide and he's embarrassed and very upset that this has happened and he can't almost believe that he's in this situation. He did put something on his Instagram story about, I hope the apology is as loud as the conviction or the insults that I'm getting. And it made me think, okay, cool, well, if you're innocent, then tell us, what is it? Go on, give us some information. Tell us why we should be behind you. Because we all want to be. You know, all the comments that are within our comment section, and thank you to everybody who's been leaving comments on my last video. Like, the vast majority of people have the perception that the sport is dirty, and Conor Benn is in a position to challenge that perception, and he's been in a position to challenge that perception. So given the fact that he's tested positive now, he should really take this to the public and say, look, I'm a clean fighter and I'm going to prove my innocence, and this is how and why and when. Instead of just taking a step back and being quiet and letting his promoter come out and give dribs and drabs of information. One of my friends has told me to watch the TalkSport interview with Eubank Jr. Apparently he has an outburst, and I need to do that. It's on my watch list. So I don't want to talk about this subject for too long. All I want to say is it would be great if Conor Benn was innocent. But if you're going to protest your innocence, then you need to come with some facts, and you need to make your fans feel like you're being forthcoming and that you are legitimately involved with where we're at with watching this sport, because we've been so disappointed over the last year, the last few months, over the COVID period. It's been really shit to be a boxing fan. So, you know, as an elite boxer, it's their duty to make sure that us as fans feel like the fighters have our best interests at heart, and they want to put on the fights and the events that we want to see. So yeah, I'm going to stop the conversation on Conor Benn and the failed drug case there until we have some further information on it. But drop me a comment in terms of whether or not you actually think Conor Benn purposely took drugs with the advice of Dr. Sajid, Usman Sajid, or if you think that there could be potential explanations as to why Clomid or clomiphene in whatever levels could be inside his body. So yeah, I'm really interested to learn a little bit more from you all around that. I know there's a few doctors and steroid specialists, if you want to say that, who were commenting on my last video. So drop me a comment below and let me know what you think. Moving on swiftly then, taking the conversation towards the other half of the boxing game, which is the female fighters. And this weekend we have the rescheduled event between Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. Now, this week has been the build-up to it, and today was actually the press conference where the two women got to go face-to-face for the very, last time, very few last time before the main card on Saturday night. The only other time they're going to come face-to-face before they see each other in the ring is on Friday at the weigh-in. Now, I'm very interested in this fight. This is going to be a classic boxing clash. I think both women, as I mentioned in my previous video, have key strengths and have key weaknesses. I think that it's going to be a very competitive fight for the first third, and then whoever's got the stamina to continue at that pace is going to really take control and be dominant throughout the middle and latter half of the fight. Now, as a Brit, I'm completely behind the fellow Brit. I'd love her to win. Savannah is, a great British champion, and she's in a great camp with Peter Fury. What a trainer, what a tutor, what a teacher within the boxing game. It's a shame what's happening with Huey at the moment, but if you look at it as a potential positive, he may have had more time to spend with Savannah. And this 5-week period between the reschedulement when the Queen passed away and now, I really think will have allowed Savannah to get those nerves out of her system. And if anything, I really hope that it's going to benefit her and help her perform on the night in cool, calm and collected fashion. That's what Peter Fury likes, cool, calm and collected. And I really think when she gets that jab popping out and follows it with big right hands and then finds her distance again and stays away from Clarissa, it's a matter of time before she hurts her, and she may potentially stop her. I'd love to see the Brit in an all, classic affair with all action rounds. I know that the fights are generally a little bit more action-packed because they're 2-minute rounds rather than 3. But just with the pace of the fight, I think that the first 3 rounds are going to go in a flash, because the girls are really going to want to set the pace and set their dominance and their mark early on. So let's see how that one pans out. What do you all think in terms of female boxing? It's an all-female boxing card. I know that Alicia Baumgardner is on there as well. And I'm really interested to see her. Her fighting style is all action. She loves throwing power punches, and she gets right up close in the pocket and then lets them shots fly. And she's got power for a short, I don't want to say small woman, but you know, for a smaller fighter, she packs a hell of a punch, and I'm sure she could knock me the fuck out if she really wanted to. But I'm interested to see that fight. And to be honest, it's great to just see an all-female card. I remember not too long ago when female boxing was on the up and up. Many of the dinosaurs in the game, you know, your Frank Warrens, your Bob Arams, were all saying, oh no, female boxing's never going to take off. We tried to do this in the past, it never worked. And that's the reason why it's never happened. But, you know, I really think the more new and fresh, young, vibrant faces we have in boxing as promoters, the better it is. And I really love what Boxer and Sky Sports are doing within the female boxing game at the moment. And it'd be really good to see them build some real stars within the boxing game, female boxing game. So yeah, I'm all for that. You know, top my hat to it, tip my hat to it. I'm going to watch the card. I'm going to buy the pay-per-view because I want to support the card as well. And I'm really interested to see the outcome of all the fights, but in particularly the 2 main co-events. They're not a main event and a co-event. Apparently they are adjacent co-main events, which is really interesting. I think it just goes to show the amount of hype that Baumgardner has got. And that's why I think, you know, that the promoters have decided to give that fight an equal title and status. I mean, it is a championship fight as well. So that's really interesting. Looking forward to Saturday night's fight card. Let's see what happens with that. Another really interesting fight which is happening, or an interesting card which is taking place this weekend, is the Misfits boxing card. Now, that's happening over in Sheffield. So that's going to be really interesting as well, because I know that there's a few good fighters on that card who have flown from the States. We've got that Slim who will be fighting on the card. I think he's the main card, but we've also got fighters like Tom Zanetti, who is a local Leeds lad, fellow Yorkshireman like myself. And we've also got the card on over in America. So I think Deontay Wilder's making his comeback against Hergovich, I think, if I'm correct. Please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that Deontay Wilder's making his comeback this weekend. Now, just talking about the Misfits YouTube boxing card, I'm really interested in honestly seeing 2 fights from that. I would love, and I'm excited to see the Hasim Rahman Jr. card. I remember a few months ago I watched him on the KSI fight card when he was with one of the presenters, and he says that he's going to be on this card. I haven't really been following the YouTube boxing side of things as much, so I'm not sure if he's still on it or if it's changed or what's happened. I assume not. Do again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm interested in seeing Hasim Rahman Jr. I actually managed to randomly have a chat with him when he was fighting Jake Paul. I messaged him on Instagram, and he actually responded back to me, strangely enough, saying that, you know, his health was the most important thing. If anyone's interested in seeing that, I'll do a separate video on it altogether where I'll actually screenshot the conversations. But I'm interested in seeing the Hasim Rahman Jr. fight, and I'm interested in seeing the Tom Zanetti fight. Now, as a Leeds lad, as a fellow Yorkshireman, you know, we support our own. And I do back him because, you know, I've listened to his music for many years. My younger brother is a musician, and, you know, they follow each other on social media. Having said that, I think that Tom Zanetti is not a fan favourite. I think a lot of people dislike him because of his social presence. I'm not going to say because of his personality, because I don't know him like that. But because of his social presence, you know, it comes across on social media. A lot of people hate him, whether that's because they feel that he's arrogant or because they feel that he's just flashy and rude, nasty, whatever you wanna say. That's their perception of him. It doesn't mean that it's true necessarily, but I think that a lot of people do want to see him lose the fight, and I'm really interested in seeing how he performs. I know that he's a handy guy, and watching his training footage, you can tell that he's really been putting the work in. And you know, I think that he should be able to get the stoppage. He's a very fit guy. Even years ago on his social media, you know, he was training, doing MMA and combat sport. So I know that the guy knows how to throw hands. And this guy that he's fighting, this like YouTuber, he does like rap YouTube videos where he interviews people and stuff like that, but the guy looks just flabby. Like he's not solid. He doesn't seem to have any type of like power or hand-eye coordination. Like I saw him on the bags and it's very much like this. There's no actual sharp punches that he throws or like direction to his jabs or anything. Everything was very much sort of like off the hips. Not a good way to fight against someone like Tom Zanetti, who's going to be throwing sharp shots straight down the middle. And I really think Tom Zanetti is going to get a showreel knockout finish with this. And it's going to set the ball rolling. So I'm really interested in seeing that. Let me know what you guys all think about the Tom Zanetti fight. Now, moving finally on, I'm conscious that the video is getting a bit long. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are enjoying this video. And drop a comment below if you've got any thoughts on anything that we spoke about today. But the last subject matter that I want to really cover is Deontay Wilder's comeback. Now, the question that I want to ask here is, do you think Deontay Wilder is still a top tier heavyweight? Or do you feel that his back-to-back defeats, and many people feel trilogy defeats to Tyson Fury, have they just taken something out of the man? Is his spirit broken? Is that sauce completely finished? In my heart of hearts, I would like to think that Deontay Wilder has still got enough in the tank to compete at the elite level in the heavyweight division. I would still like to see him fight numerous heavyweights from the UK, mainly referring to people like Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte, Joseph Parker, Joe Joyce, and I would even be interested in seeing him fight someone like Derek Chisora, or a Daniel Dubois. Like, I don't think that Deontay Wilder can be in boring fights. So for that reason, I would love for him to come back with a little bit of energy and spirit, for him to be able to compete and put on a good show for a lot of these heavyweight clashes that could potentially happen in the next few years. I'm sure it's Filip Hrgović that he's fighting next, but I could be wrong. But I hope that he knocks him out in devastating fashion, and that next year we get to see him in with one of the British top tier heavyweights. British heavyweights at the moment seem to be ruling the game. We've got all the exciting fighters here in the UK. America really seems to have taken a downward slant. Given, yeah, they've got more exciting fighters in the lower weight divisions, welterweight, junior welterweight, lightweight, flyweights. Yeah, they've got exciting fighters even in the middleweight division with the likes of Canelo, Demetrius Andrade, and a few other, you know, fighters out there that I really like and I follow. So yeah, it's interesting times at the moment, but let's see how Deontay Wilder comes back. If he knocks out his man, then the next fight that I want to see him in has to be a top tier heavyweight, a competitive heavyweight. It looks like it's going to be Andy Ruiz Jr., which I'm not against. I'm not opposed to that. I just think that it's an odd matchup. If you look at them both, it's almost strange to imagine how it's going to look like them fighting one another. But I guess we got to see Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz get in the ring, which was equally as strange, and we all know the result the first time of what happened for that fight. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really enjoy making these videos and speaking to every one of you, so thanks for leaving a comment below. And thank you for subscribing to my channel and liking my content and liking these videos. If you're interested in some supplements which are going to help you get shredded and get ripped and really, you know, take yourself to the next level in your training, whether that's boxing or just fitness, click the link in the description below and it'll take you through to Amazon, where you can check out and use the same products which I use, which keep me fit, active and healthy when I go to my boxing gym and do my training. Guys, it's Inside Boxing Brain. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to be back very soon for another video, probably Friday or Saturday. I'm going to do a reaction to the fight or all the fights that are happening. So yeah, have a lovely evening, guys, and I'll be back soon. Peace.